welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Angel and today I'll be sharing with you some more fun and simple DIYs. As always, before we get started, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and click that little notification bell so that you won't miss out on any of my future videos. For this first project, I'll just be using some of these Dollar Tree clothespins, and you'll only need one pack for this project. We're going to be making a trivet. The first thing I did was just go ahead and take all of my clothespins apart, and then I set that little metal part to the side. We won't be using that for this project, but I am going to hold on to those for a future project. Now, once I had all of my clothespins taken apart, we're just going to go ahead and use some Dollar Tree wood glue and start gluing those together by the back sides. Once they're all glued together, then you're actually going to take those clothespins and put some glue there at the bottom of them and start gluing those together. Now, for this first curved piece, I'm just using half of my pack of clothespins. Once you finish that first half, you're going to go ahead and put some glue on the opposite end of one of your clothespins, and you're going to flip it over and glue it to that first half circle. So basically, we're just going to start going the reverse way with our clothespins, and then you're going to continue just gluing that bottom piece to your other clothespins. And your final result should be this kind of S-shaped clothespins trivet. For this next project, I'll just be using one of these glass candle holders and also one of these little plastic garden dishes that I also picked up at Dollar Tree. I'm just going to be using some of my Waverly white chalk paint, and since I just had a little bit left over in here, I went ahead and mixed in some baking soda, but you could also just mix this in a dish and it just makes it a little thicker, and it's kind of going to give it that stone look when it's dry. Now for both pieces, I went ahead and did 2 coats of this baking soda and white paint, but I did not paint the inside of my little garden dish because I'm actually going to use this to put fruit in. I also wasn't too worried about covering that bottom part of the glass candle holder because, as you can see here, I'm just going to use some E6000 and then I'm going to sit my plate right on top of there. And here's a look at how it turned out. Now for this next project, we're going to be making a banana hammock using 2 of these Dollar Tree Nautical ropes and 2 of these dowel rods from Dollar Tree as well. The first thing I did was just go ahead and unravel both of those ropes, and you'll end up with 6 strands. Then I'm just going to take each of those strands and fold them over, and I'm going to attach them to one of those dowel rods. Now, once you have all of those attached, you're just going to move that first strand over to the side, and we're just going to twist the next 2 around each other. Now, hopefully this is going to make sense as I explain it, but you want to make sure you do a full twist, and then you're going to move over to the next 2 and do another full twist. Then you're just going to continue that all the way across. Now, once you get to the second row, this is going to sound a little bit complicated, but you're going to add in that first one, do a twist, and then you're going to take the top rope and go over each bottom rope for the next one over. I know that sounds really complicated, and it's easier to watch than for me to explain it, but hopefully you'll be able to get it because this really is super easy to do. And even as I was doing this, I was like, how am I going to explain how to do this? But you can see I'm just taking the top rope from the left-hand side and going over the rope that's coming from beneath the one next to it. And I really tried not to cut too much out while I was editing this video so that you can watch me do it over and over, and hopefully you'll be able to get it. It really only took me about 5 to 10 minutes to make this. But you're just going to continue doing those little twists over and over all the way down until you have this the length that you want it. Now, once you get to the bottom, you're going to attach each cord to that second dowel rod. And you can see here, you're going to go from behind, loop it over to the left, and then you're going to pull it back to the right, loop it back over, and pull it through that hole. Again, I'm sorry, I think I'm making it sound more complicated than it really is. But I am going to go ahead and show you a few times how to do it so that hopefully you'll be able to do it. And here it is one last time zoomed in. So you come from behind, loop it over to the left, pull it down under, then you're going to loop it back over to the right, and then pull it back through the little hole that you just made. And once I finished all of my cords, I just went ahead and trimmed down the little tails at the end. And here's how it looks in my kitchen. I just used some little hooks to hang it under one of my shelves. But if you don't want to put holes under your shelf or under your cabinet, you could of course just use command hooks. For this next project, I found this cute little cutting board sign at Dollar Tree, and I thought this would be perfect to make my little salt and pepper shaker holder that I've been wanting to make. So I went ahead and painted it white with some of my chalk paint, and then I'm also going to be using one of these Dollar Tree crates, and I'm also painting the outside and the inside of that white as well. Now this part is totally optional, but I wanted to cover the back of that cutting board where it had the original sign. So I'm just using some of this Dollar Tree pill and stick cork board. And all I had to do was just trace out my little cutting board, and then I'm gonna cut that down and put it over the back. Now to decorate this, I kind of just wanted to do something a little different, so I found this little bird stencil at Dollar Tree and also these little stencil sponges, and I just decided to go ahead and put a few of these little birds on my cutting board, and I'm just using some of my green celery chalk paint. Once I was finished with that, I went ahead and used some wood glue to attach my little crate. Then of course, I felt like the crate was missing something, so I added 2 little birds to the crate as well. And here's how it looks with my Dollar Tree salt and pepper shakers. This last project, I had 3 of these little kitchen signs that I picked up at Dollar Tree. They were really cute, but I wanted to go ahead and make them over. I went ahead and removed the 2 galvanized pieces, the little cupcake and the whisk, and then I gave all 3 of them 2 coats of my white Waverly chalk paint. The first sign I made over was the whisk one, and I'm just going to be using this little chalkboard sticker that I picked up at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut that down a little bit to fit onto my sign. Once I had that where I wanted it, I took a piece of chalk and went ahead and prepped my chalkboard. Then using one of Dollar Tree's metallic markers, I'm just going to draw a straight line with my ruler, and I wanted to make this into a grocery list. My handwriting is not the greatest, but I figured it would work fine. Then all I had to do to finish this sign was just go ahead and hot glue that whisk back onto it. Now for the second sign that had the little cupcake on it, I wanted to make a recipe little board. So I'm just using one of these canvases that I had left over from a previous project, and I'm going to cut that down and make a little pocket to hold my recipes. Now just to give my little pocket a cleaner look, I'm just folding over the top and the bottom edges and hot gluing those down. Then I'm just going to take some hot glue and glue it to my sign. This next part is totally optional, but I wanted to use some of these Dollar Tree thumbtacks in the corners. All I had to do was just hammer those in a little bit. Then I hot glued the little cupcake galvanized piece to the sign, and I'm just going to go ahead and hand draw out the little cupcake top with a pencil, and I'll paint that in later. Now for this sign, I really did want to use my own handwriting again, so I'm just using one of these Dollar Tree stencils, and I'm tracing out the letters to say recipe at the top, and then I'm just going to go back over that with one of my Sharpies. And finally, for this sign, I'm just filling in the cupcake. I'm using the color celery in my chalk paint. And I also went back in and added some sprinkles with my black Sharpie. Now for the final sign, that was the one with the rolling pin, I'm just going to use this purely for decoration. So I wanted to use this tissue paper that I got from Dollar Tree, and instead of using Mod Podge, I'm actually using a glue stick because I found out it works so much better when working with tissue paper, and you can really kind of push out all those wrinkles and make it really smooth. Now I let that kind of dry for a little bit, and then you can see here I'm just taking one of my pencils and kind of cutting out where that rolling pin is. You could use a knife or anything. I was just very lazy and decided to just use the tip of my pencil, and it actually seemed to work pretty well. Then of course I just went around the edges and removed all the excess paper. And then I'm just going to take one of Dollar Tree sanding blocks, and I'm going to sand down all the sides and inside where the rolling pin is. And here is how all three of my little kitchen signs turned out. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.